One of the folks at Adonit reached out to us just recently and offered to send us their brand new Ink M pen, no obligations. Now, you might remember that we reviewed several alternatives to the Surface Pen back in April 2019. Among those alternatives were the Adonit Ink and the Adonit Ink Pro, two really great quality pens that were designed for Surface devices that use the Microsoft Pen protocol. We sourced and bought all of those pens ourselves. We patiently waited while they took months to arrive. I still have all of them, and the good ones, like the Adonit Ink Pro, I still use today. The Wacom Bamboo Ink Smart Stylus, which was one of my favorites, unfortunately went through the wash just last week, and it's no longer in the land of the living. But this Adonit Ink M caught my eye, and it turned up from the US within a couple of days. So let's take it out of the box. Out of the box, it's very lightweight. It's plastic, so it doesn't feel anywhere near as impressive as the Surface Pen. It's a little wider across too. There's a dual action button here for lasso or right click and erasing functions. Now, as cool as the eraser is on the back of the Surface Pen, this button setup is faster, so I do prefer this. The pen tip is plastic, hard plastic. It's clicky on the screen. Now make sure that you do the pen tip up, by the way. It can unscrew, and it'll be a little bit more clicky if it's not done up finger tight. But that hard tip makes it very fluid across the screen, so it feels more like an Apple Pencil. I think that artists might like that, but it's not the best for note taking. It's too noisy and distracting. And unfortunately, like all of the Surface Pen alternatives that we've tried, it doesn't support tilt. Now personally, I've never really used tilt. I'm not sure why you'd need it apart from sketching, but I've never needed it in my work. It has an inbuilt rechargeable battery and it charges with USB-C, which is great. Now, according to Adonit, it'll last for about 30 hours of pen use, so it'll need to be charged a lot more when compared to the battery changes of the regular Surface Pen, but at least there's no alkaline batteries going into landfill. Now, unlike any of the previous alternative Surface Pens that we've looked at, this one does attach magnetically to the side of your Surface, which is brilliant. Just note that with the Surface Go, that the pen protrudes slightly. It's a little longer than the Surface Pen. Now, if you were comparing the Ink M to a Surface Pen as just a pen for your Surface, well, you'd be forgiven for overlooking it. Now, sure, it's a little cheaper than the Surface Pen, but I'd say that the Surface Pen feels better, and the note-taking experience is better with those soft pen tips too. But the Ink M has an ace up its sleeve. It's not just a pen, it's actually a mouse too. Now, before we go on too far and I get carried away with my excitement here, all Surface Pens and most active pens on Windows devices do act like a mouse too. That is, they are proximity sensitive, meaning that you can put your pen near the screen and the cursor will hover around. And so you can tap to click or double click and right click with all of them. So they work like a mouse, right? And that's true, at least mostly. You see, like a pen, a mouse is a tool of leverage, but it's a different lever, with a different fulcrum, if you will. A mouse uses a proportional setup, and it moves further according to your speed. So small, fast movements move the cursor far, but small, slow movements give the cursor accuracy. Now, when we use a pen as a mouse, we're working one-to-one with no leverage. The pen gives us leverage when we write, but not when we mouse. Another issue is that under the hood in Windows, there are three forms of cursor input: mouse, touch, and pen. And technically, all programs can handle these inputs differently. That's what makes palm rejection work. Windows can tell a palm gives a touch input, but a pen gives a pen input. And many programs respond to a pen just like it's a mouse. Some programs treat the pen a little bit differently, and some don't respond to the pen at all. The Windows Start menu. With a mouse, the cursor points, click and drag, and it moves a program from the menu on the left, ready to drop it over to the right. Now try that with a pen, and it responds more like a fingertip. Windows changed this behavior in early 2018 so that the pen responds to the fingertip and it allows you to scroll through this menu. And that's different to the behavior of a mouse. Another example, click on a typing field with your pen and you get the writing input panel. Click on that text box with your fingertip and you get the on-screen keyboard. Click on it with your mouse and you don't get anything but a flashing cursor. The point is that pen input is not 100% consistent with mouse in Windows. It's also not consistent with touch. It's designed to be something different altogether, which it is. Now that's why I have a Surface Arc mouse with me when I travel. It's a great mouse and I have it in my travel bag, but I have to be honest, I only use it very occasionally. Now back to this Adonit Ink M. It is a mouse. I'd read that it was a mouse, but it took me a bit to really figure out how it was a mouse. I mean, there's this mouse button on the end and I thought, what's that doing up here? It seems like a bit of a weird placement. And there's this opening on the end that looks kind of like a laser pointer. Now the Adonit Ink Pro actually had an inbuilt laser pointer and I thought, well, maybe that's what it is. But finally it dawned on me that this end is actually a mouse sensor. Now you need to pair the Ink M with Bluetooth for it to work as a mouse, which is a little tricky procedure. You turn it on first, then you need to switch it into mouse mode, hold both mouse buttons down, and then go and pair it in Bluetooth on your computer. Now that you've paired it, flip the pen around and use it as a mouse. The buttons are left and right click, and the surface of the button is actually a scroll wheel. Now to switch back to using a pen, I press the pen button on the other end, and the LED goes green. To use it as a mouse, press the mouse end, and the LED goes blue. How cool. Now it'll turn itself off after a while. The manual says that about 20 minutes of activity, but it seems a bit shorter than that to me. And you'll need to turn it on, and then you'll need to go into mouse mode again each time. And that could be a little annoying. Time will tell. As a mouse, it can suffer from the same problem as the Apple Pencil does, because the left and the right buttons are also a scroll wheel. So you need to let the pen go, loosening your grip to move between buttons. Now that's a real ergonomic problem with the Apple Pencil 2, because it has this virtual button. To press it, you need to let your grip go and it goes from 3 points to 2. And the pen becomes unstable, which kind of feels uncomfortable in your hand. But here, at least you can rest your hand fixed in place on the desk. And you really want to have the pen resting on the mouse surface anyway. So it's not such a problem with the Ink M mouse once you adopt the right positioning. For me, using a mouse when I'm mobile is an occasional need. Mostly I'll navigate with the pen when I'm out of the office. But sometimes it's just too fiddly to select text or to manipulate a spreadsheet with pen and touch. The mouse gives you very flexible macro and micro control over the cursor. Now with the Ink M, that mouse is something that I could take out of my travel bag altogether. As a mouse, you can Bluetooth connect the Ink M to any Windows PC. In fact, probably any mobile device that supports Bluetooth. And although I'm not sure that I would recommend this as a full-time mouse, it's a very handy addition to my mobile toolkit. Now I'm thankful to Adonit for sending the Ink M over for us to have a play with. I'm really excited about this simple innovation in pen technology. And I would have bought one myself, by the way, don't tell them that. If you're interested in this pen, you need to get the Adonit Ink M for Surface. Apparently there is a version called the Note M for iPads. Don't get that one. We'll leave an Amazon affiliate link in the description below. And you can buy this pen through that link and you'll get a pen that has real mouse support, not like the iPad one, and you'll be supporting this channel too. Tell us what you think in the comments below and subscribe to this channel for everything Surface related. One of the folks at Adonit reach Ink M pen. And the surface of that button is actually come on. So you can adapt. Seriously.